Scooby-Doo-up-boo-bay-am. 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 Hit it, hit it, hit it.
This is the segment of our show where we introduce a special guest. Today we have Don Gooding, the founder of Mainly Acapella, and some friends of Sammy's.
Here is Alvin and Pingu.
What exactly does Mainly Acapella do?
Well, they have all kinds of a cappella music, all different kinds of people singing.
You have a question? Oh. How does a cappella work?
Well, a cappella is singing with no instruments. A lot of times when you hear music, there's guitars, there's drums, there's trumpets. In a cappella, if you want to sound like a trumpet, you try to make a sound like a trumpet, like and you have all these voices singing together to make all the different sounds that you might want to have with your music.
What does the word a cappella mean?
A cappella.
A-C-A-P-P-E-L-L-A.
Yep. So it's 2 words, 2 P's, 2 L's. And it's actually Italian. It means in, as in, and then cappella is for the word for chapel.
Can you tell us a little bit about the history of a cappella?
Way back, like 500 years ago, rich people had their own private chapels, and they didn't have room for instruments, so they brought in people to sing, and that was where it started to be called a cappella music. So no instruments, no room for instruments. So since then, people have figured out how to make all sorts of funny noises with their mouth to sound like all kinds of instruments. So it used to be, like 70 years ago when jazz was popular, they'd try to sound like a jazz band. You know, so they'd sound like a trumpet, or they'd sound like a bass, you know, boom, 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 boom. And they sometimes would try to sound like a trombone. And it was sort of fun. And nowadays, well, what kind of music do you guys like?
Rock.
Rock,
Yeah.
right? And you guys like Guitar Hero, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to sound like guitar, so you go or something like that. You can put all of those sounds together, and then sometimes, of course, you can just sound like a regular voice.
Are there different kinds of a cappella?
There's also barbershop quartet. That actually started 100 years ago. And that's sometimes people think of as like a bunch of guys with sort of red, white, and blue striped straw hats and vests and big mustaches, not even bigger than mine. And so they stand around and they sing songs from 100 years ago. But then more recently, there's this new kind of a cappella called vocal bands. And vocal bands have somebody who's sounding like a drum all the time and somebody sounding like a bass guitar all the time, because it's sort of like a rock band, but just with voices. Okay, so let's see if we can put together some sounds that'll be a cappella. That might be like a theme song first. Okay, let's go. Silly me, silly me, silly me, silly me. Okay, let's see if we could do it. 2, 3, 4. Silly me, 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 silly me. There you go. We're singing a cappella a little chord, because most music has chords in the background, and that little chord is what you hear going on in the background. Sometimes you sing it at the same time, and sometimes you sing it at different times. And sometimes you might say words like silly me, and sometimes you might go wah wah wah. And sometimes if you want to add rhythm, you could also sound like a drum set. So can you guys sound like a drum? It sometimes helps if you move your hands like that, like you're pretending to play the drums, okay? Here we go. Let's do it all at the same time. 2, 3, 4. All right, we rock. Now, can we sound like a rock band? Let's see. Down, 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 down. Yeah, I don't know. Down, 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 down. Down, 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 down. Bow, 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 bow. Yeah. See? So when you've got your voices and you've got 4 voices, you can do all sorts of fun things. And you don't need any instruments. That's the amazing thing. So now you guys have listened to this CD. So what song would you like to hear?
Longest time.
Longest Time? Okay. Can we hear Longest Time?
Okay.